I'm here today to introduce our three guest speakers who are going to do a bit about their own recovery stories. So today I've got Chris, Paul and Jen. So the order that they're going to go into is Chris is going to go first, give us a bit about him. And then we're going to have Jen, and then we're going to end with Paul. So what I'm going to do now is Chris goes to the laptop, and I'm going to hand over to Chris. Thank you.
Hi folks, hoping you can hear me all right. My name's Chris, and thank you for that warm-up. It's really great for the nerves. Thank you for that warm-up, Charlie. You know, you haven't got time to get nervous when you're busy dancing. So I'm quite grateful for that. I've taken some notes because anyone who knows me well knows that I can talk about quantum spaghetti and get off track very quickly. So I'm going to keep it simple. Thank you very much, Recovery Festival Committee, for inviting me to share my story. How did I get here? I'm recovered from drug and alcohol, chronic drug and alcohol use. How did I get here? Let's put the timer on. There we go. I'm going to give you a bit about the problem. I used drugs and alcohol. Basically, I used anything to change the way I feel. In my 20s, by my mid-20s, drugs and alcohol were getting in the way of life, love and work. Fast forward 10 years, by my mid-30s, work and love and life were getting in the way of me using and drinking. It had shifted. By my mid-30s, I'm unemployable at 37, so I took up the full-time job of managing my addiction, which was a 24-hour day job. So by my mid-40s, drug and alcohol services were very heavily involved in keeping me alive, in the hope that I would change before I became a statistic. And I'm very grateful for them for that. I started with them in 2003, and I've been a service user ever since in one capacity or another. They got me to a treatment centre. I didn't get myself to a treatment centre. No, I couldn't organise a bang with a bomb in my hand by then. They got me to a treatment centre in order to stabilise. And it was there that things started to change. Why did that happen? There's an old saying, isn't there, where when the pain of staying the same outweighs the fear of change, that's when we change. So I think that's why I started to change. What did that look like? The thing that really changed was the first time in my life I started to put any action into my recovery and to take any responsibility for it. You know, before I was always complaining about drug and alcohol services, mental health services, and just anything really, you know. And the complaint was, you can't fix me. And in that treatment centre, someone said, yeah, Chris, you're right. We can't fix you. That's the phone. Just bear with me for a sec. That's a phone, but it's not for me. If it's my gram, tell them I'm not here.
I'll let them know.
Thank you.
We just have to wait for it to ring out and then I can turn it off.
Brilliant. There we go.
1 second. Sorry about this.
That's okay.
Okay.
Bear with us a sec. There we go. Mutual aid in action, ladies and gentlemen. The penny dropped when I got to that treatment centre that I needed to put some action and I needed to take responsibility. That's when that penny dropped. Yep. Drug and alcohol services, mutual aid groups could guide me, they could support me, but no, they can't carry me up the mountain. I've got to do something. That was a real magic moment for me. It's like, blimey, okay. So that's when the journey really started. What did I do? I spent the next 4 years going around the cycle of change, basically, which means I connected to people who knew more about recovery than I did. And I knew nothing about it. My head said, I know everything. No, I didn't. So I connected with people who knew more. And secondly, those people who were practicing it as well. Yeah, so that the people with the knowledge and people who are blatantly living that recovery stuff. And I connected with them and I found out what they were doing, and I did the same. I did what they did. I mean, pretty easy equation, really. But not easy to actually practice all this, but it was easy enough to work out. So what did I do? Group programs. When I came out of the treatment centre, Rhodes was incredibly supportive then. I did BDP and ARA groups that now sit with BHI. I did a group with AWP as well about anxiety and depression, to get some tools and to start using them. You know, at the same time as doing that, I joined mutual aid groups, 12-step ones, smart ones. I just did it, you know, an old hand at BDP when I came out of treatment. I said to him, call him Paul, I said, Paul, what do I do, Paul? And he looked at me with those kind of grommet eyes and said, Chris, do all of it, do anything. You know, if you used to do anything and use anything, use all of this, do all of it. And I thought that was great advice and it stuck with me. So I also started volunteering as well. I'm still doing that. And that gave me some new skills that I could use to help other people, but also help myself as well. So in short, what did I do in those 4 years? I worked on myself. And I was able to let others guide me and let others work on me as well. And I needed a lot of work. I still do, by the way. I still do. I've still got a lot of growing up to do. But that's how I got to there. I'll just dismiss that. I'm getting messages in from all sorts of interesting people. Not even my computer. Never mind. So where am I now? You know, as a result of doing all of this work, this is now 6 years later. I kept at it. You know, I kept at it. And I would encourage anyone who's, you know, I was a serial relapser. I just kept at it. I've got this transferable skill from when I was at that side of the pitch to this one. I'm stubborn. And that also means I'm tenacious. It means, you know, if I want to do something, I try and do it and I get it done. And so I kept at it. As a result, I've been abstinent now for 2 years. But it's not about the quantity of time that I've got. I go to bed tonight and I have to look at my day and go, what have I done today for my recovery? So it is about the quantity, but it is about the quality of the recovery as well. And how do I stay abstinent? That's a good question. Rather than me try to explain it, which would take 7,000 words and too many adjectives, I'm going to use a very simple tool. It's called the SMART stool. It's a 3-legged stool. The first leg of the stool is the must-dos. And for me, and this is just my journey, for me, that means mutual aid groups, which help me connect, you know, spiritually, and gives me some spiritual tools that I can use, and good life tools as well. And I use other tools. I mean, I qualify for every model of addiction and every model of recovery. And I have to take responsibility. So I use CBT tools as well. So those are the must-dos, you know, and all of that other life stuff. But for my recovery, those are the must-dos, and I have to keep doing them. What's the other thing? The next leg of the stool is the learning. It's just development and learning. You know, I'm in recovery. Another word for recovery is redevelopment. You know, for those who don't like the recovery word. And you know, what have I learned? I've learned that I've still got a lot to learn. In the last few years, I've gone back to college. I've learned a lot of skills from volunteering, and I'm about to become an apprentice. But you know, it's not all work. You know, I'm learning how to play a saxophone. I've been learning how to do improv drama. I'm learning how to move and dance again, and I'm learning how not to fall over when I do yoga, which I think I'll always be a beginner at, but that's another story. And that brings me to the third leg. So you've got, you know, leg number 1, the must-dos, leg number 2, the learning, and leg number 3 is fun. Now, the old me thought that recovery is all work and no play. That's what I used to think. The new me absolutely challenges that perception that I had, and maybe that the general public had. You know, the truth is that the party's not over. Not only that, that you know, we're going to remember the party as well, unlike before, you know. So what does that look like for me? You know, for me, that's You know, if I'm feeling sociable and active, that means that you're doing performance arts, you know, with a load of people, doing improv, having some fun there. If I'm feeling sociable but tired, it means going to the cinema and watching someone else's performance art, you know. If I'm not feeling sociable but I'm feeling a bit active, it means going for a walk with headphones, you know. And if I just want some solo time and I'm absolutely bloody knackered, definitely that means watching a box set, because it's all fun. It's just fun. And you know, and I love doing this kind of stuff. I think it's very important. I think it's very overlooked. You know, it's one of the reasons I love the creative communities, for example, at Bristol Growth Project, is that, you know, we're examples of recovery can be fun. It can be a laugh. It's not just hard work. Yes, it's hard work at times, but it isn't just that. So I'll just round it off because I'm coming up to about 10 minutes. You know, if you told me 6 years ago that I'd be doing this after doing some movement, you know, in front of an audience, thinking like I'm on breakfast television, my truth is no bloody way. There's no way on earth I'd be doing that. You know, my truth back then was quite simple. There was no way up the mountain of recovery for me. I'm never going to be able to climb it. I've wasted my life and I'm going to die a drug addict. That was my truth 6 years ago, and I was very firm in those beliefs. This is my truth now. The mountain is climbable. I'm just one of thousands and thousands of people just in Bristol that is proof that the mountain is climbable. Two, it's easier for me, it's easier to climb this mountain with others than it is to try and be a solo mountain climber when you don't know what you're doing. So for me, climbing with others, mutual aid was a huge part of my recovery and always will be. You know, it's that I can't, we can. Three, those wasted years weren't wasted. They weren't. I now put those wasted years to good use to help other people up the mountain. That's what I do now. That's what I'm training to be. And lastly, the views from the mountain, from my experience, are absolutely bloody worth it. They're absolutely worth it. So I want to thank you for listening to me. I've really enjoyed watching some of this today. And I'll leave it there. I've got to run off and do some choir now. Have fun, keep smiling and talking to strangers. I'll just grab the next person.